Welcome to Drafting Out Loud. We're on part 6 of following Peter Overzet's rules, the final episode. If you didn't check out the first 5, go back and check them out. If you don't want to, here is what we did. We drafted 4 teams, 2 of them on DraftKings, 2 of them on Underdog. We took these rules, mainly rules 1, 2, and 4, and we followed them once on Underdog, and then we broke them all once on Underdog. Then we followed them all once on DraftKings, and then we broke them all once on DraftKings. And now we are here on part 6, where we're going to talk about what we learned. Do we like the rules? Do we hate the rules? And that sort of thing. So let's jump into our final session, the 6th episode here. Now, first off, all excellent rules, if you ask me overall. You're going to feel great if you follow these rules in general, especially if you haven't done a million drafts. You're probably going to feel even better about them. But let's jump into each one of these rules and maybe take a lesson from each of them. Let me first give you the main thing, or if there's just like one sentence to thematically go through each of these. First off, no tight ends through 5. Don't be afraid of 4. What did I learn kind of focusing on this one? I learned that tight ends don't matter. When it comes to the rule about running backs, 2 running backs through 4. What did I learn about that one? Running backs are comfy. And then the last one, 3 QBs by round 13. What did I learn about that one? QBs are constricting, is what I learned. So let's talk about each one of those in more detail. And maybe you'll agree. If you don't, let me know. If you do agree, let me know as well. Now, I did have 4 drafts, like I was saying, and here are the 4 drafts that I did. We're going to have 2 drafts where I, again, broke the rules and 2 where I followed them. And the first 2 drafts here are drafts where I followed the rules. And I'm just going to be clicking through these teams really quick so you can kind of see the teams as best as possible on the platforms. But we followed the rules on this team right here. And we end up with tight ends Justin Ferguson, Isaiah Likely, and Gunnar Helm. On the next one, again, where we followed the rules, and there we go. And we followed the rules. We ended up with Sam Laporta, Cade Otton, and Terrence Ferguson. And then on the 2 where we did not follow the rules, so on the 2 that we did not follow the rules, we needed to draft an early tight end. We needed to draft a tight end in the first 4 rounds. On these teams, we ended up with Colston Loveland and Kyle Pitts on this one. And then on our last team, again, where we broke the rules, we ended up with Colston Loveland, Cade Otton, and Colby Parkinson. The 3 C's of tight ends, I guess, is what we ended up with there. And what did I learn about tight ends again? I learned that tight ends don't matter. In the end, when I'm looking at all 4 of these teams, at no point in time do I first go to tight end and question, ooh, what do I have at tight end? In fact, where do my eyes go on all these teams? I first go to, who do I got at running back and who do I got at wide receiver? And do they look like they can score some points? And if they do, I probably feel good about it no matter what, because I go down here and go, oh, I got Ferguson, Likely, and Gunnar Helm. I think I can do pretty well there. Or, oh, I got Laporta, Otten, and Ferguson. They can score some points. So overall, I'm cool with it. When I go to these other teams here, where I took a detour early and grabbed a tight end, and again, admittedly, I broke all the rules when I did these ones. So maybe there's a little bit of a flaw. Maybe I got to go back and test it again or something like that. But when I go and I look at these teams here, again, I go and look at the running backs, look at the wide receivers, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that as my starting running back and wide receiver group. When I scroll down to the tight ends, I don't go, oh, yes, I got Colston Loveland. I'm secure now. I more go, oh, gosh, I hope that I can survive with these players. When I go and look at the next one, same thing. I don't go and say, yes, I got Colston Loveland as one of my tight ends. I go, oh gosh, I hope I can survive with these as my starting roster at my other positions. So tight ends don't matter. I'm not saying don't take the elite tight ends. What I'm saying is that if you want to feel good about your team, you probably don't want to draft an elite tight end overall. You can do it, but you probably won't feel as good because you're going to feel weak in another area. Again, I'm not saying don't take elite tight ends. In fact, I probably want to be, near the field or so if I can with the tight ends. I just don't want to be like over the field significantly on all of them, like 20% of one, 20% of the other, and 20% of the other. That might be a little too extreme. But we do know that there are times where these tight ends are going to go off in the playoffs, and they're the ones that you're going to need. We also know there might be times where one of these tight ends becomes that breakout tight end and just carries you through the entire season. And that's probably someone, actually, any of the top three tight ends could do it because they're all going at the end of round 2 or later. But it's probably one of them that are going to do that. So I'm not going to avoid the tight ends. I'm saying don't avoid them. I'm just saying in the end, they don't matter. I'm not going to go hardcore 20% ownership for all the top tight ends. At least I don't expect that right now. Next up, we got our running backs. And what do we say about running backs? We said running backs are comfortable, they're comfy. And when you get those first 2 running backs in the first 4 rounds, you feel so good about your team for essentially that same reason. You're like, man, nothing can go wrong because I have these nice projectable points up front. In this one here, I got Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and I even got a falling Williams here in the 4th round, and then a falling Swift in the 6th round. Man, I got so many projectable points at running back. I don't care what I do with the rest of my team. I can't go wrong with running back. I could even stop at 5 here, like I did, and just be comfy and grab other positions. This one here, I started with Chase Brown in the 2nd round and Travis Etienne in the 3rd round. And I'm not even going to say if they're your favorite running backs or not, but they are running backs that are expected to get a lot of work or a good amount of work. So, man, again, feel pretty darn comfy. I got a falling Swift in this one too. Thank you. Got projectable volume. I got 6 on this one extra one than the other one. But I feel good at running back, and I can attack any other positions I want to. And I got lots of room to do so because I only had to take 6 of them. In fact, of these 6, one of them is DJ Giddens. How many people got DJ Giddens as one of the running backs? I don't think that many people. So feel comfy when you get those running backs. On the opposite side, when I didn't take 2 running backs in those first 4 rounds, I ended up with 7 running backs on both of the teams. So I felt like I needed to allocate more to that position. And I'm sure there's ways I could have gotten down to 6, but in these drafts, ended up with 7 and didn't really feel super comfy until I got that 6th and like that 7th running back. While the other drafts, you felt good from after the first 2. Look at this one here. I got Omarion Hampton. And then I waited all the way until round 10, and I just started hammering running backs because I just knew I needed a ton of them. Tony Pollard. Then I got Mason, then Washington. Took a little detour at quarterback. Connor, Tracy, Robinson. And then I stopped here at Robinson. And then on this one right here, let's see what we got on this one. Got Love in the 2nd round, and then again waited, and got Algier in the 8th. Jones in the 12th, Mitchell in the 13th, Brooks in the 14th, Wilson in the 15th, Bigsby in the 16th. So I just kind of kept on taking them. What I've found is that when I do go light on running back, I really like some of these running backs towards the end. I think like Brian Robinson and Tank Bigsby, they're number 2 running backs on teams. that are expected to have ideally an explosive running game. And on one of those, historically, the number two back has had some pretty big games. And this is the first full season for Bigsby over on the Eagles. So, there's an opportunity there as well with some potential upside later on also. So I do start to feel comfy if I can start like double tapping running backs towards the end. And I've done like Bigsby Robinson on multiple teams. And I'm sure that might change when we get to Best Ball Mania. But right now, getting some of these running backs super late has made my team start to feel more comfy. But I've had to go to 7 on most of them and attack those running backs hard before the last couple positions. So it's not like you can find many running backs super late that you really, really like. Now, who have been some of my targets when it comes to these running backs late? I mentioned 2 of them. Tank Bigsby, Brian Robinson have been 2 of them. And we do have a bunch more, and I can list some of those in order, some of the ones that are later rounds. So like, I don't know, close to pick 100 or later. So skip the early round running backs. And of course, I got my screen freezing here as we're going, which makes it tough, but we'll get there. While we're waiting for the screen to pull up, the other piece that we learned that I learned as far as running backs go, and I think this is even more in line with those 2 through the first 4 rounds, is that rounds 5 and like going after 5, you don't feel the greatest with those running backs if you take them ahead of ADP or even at ADP. So we got rounds 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's round 5. Like you saw me take Swift on a bunch of teams, but I didn't take him at the beginning of round 5. I didn't take Tootin, Swift, Montgomery, Harvey, Hubbard, Warren, Price, Dowdle, Monungai, Algier, Stevenson, Gainwell, Corum, like all these guys here, and keep on going. There's a bunch of them that I've drafted them, but if I have to draft them because I was low on running back earlier, you don't feel good about it. So that's one of the other reasons why you feel comfy when you get 2 running backs in those first 4 rounds. You avoid this section and you only draft them when you want to draft them versus when you have to draft them. Now, who are my targets? I know you're dying to hear who those targets are. The players that I'm well over 11% on, from highest to lowest here, we got Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Brooks, Tank Bigsby, Jordan Mason, Nicholas Singleton, Emmanuel Wilson, Emmett Johnson, Tony Pollard, Keaton Mitchell, Rashad White, Chris Rodriguez, Tajay Spears. I'm not saying that all those are the ones you got to be taking, or maybe those are all the ones you shouldn't be taking. Who knows? But those are the ones that I've been kind of just flipping around a lot. I got all of them again over 11%, so pretty high overweight on all those players. Some of them are well over 11%, like in the 20s as well. So we will see if those players hit. Some of those teams where I went light at running back might be really good teams, and we'll maybe prove that 0 running back can work. That being said, don't feel great about any of them, and getting those running backs early, you feel comfy. Okay, last but not least, we have quarterbacks, and I said quarterbacks are constricting. You got this interesting quarterback pocket here, like rounds 4 or like round 4, basically with Lamar Jackson until like round 7 or so, and around 8, like 4 to 8 or something like that. And there's some picks in there that aren't the most comfortable picks at other positions. Like I said, at running back, even wide receiver, some picks that aren't the most comfortable picks. And so if you can get running back or get quarterbacks in that section, they feel kind of good overall. But once you start moving past there, the quarterbacks start to feel more and more constricting. Now, here are the teams again where we'll go with the teams that I had to follow the rules here. Well, there are these ones where I had to follow the rules. And on this one, I took Prescott in the 7th. I took Kyler Murray in the 9th. And then I got Cam Ward in the 13th. And basically, what happened with this team was I got into this ninth round, and I knew that I only had so many rounds left to get quarterbacks, and I knew that a bunch of that I would have less and less control over which quarterbacks were available as we got further along in these rounds. And I knew there was other targets that I wanted in these rounds as well. And so I was starting to feel things close in on me as I was trying to get those three quarterbacks through 13 rounds. It, again, was feeling constricting. I ended up taking a Kyler Murray in the ninth round, unstacked, get some backstack going, but unstacked. And then I had to get to the 13th round here, and I took Cam Ward just because this is the last round. I got to get three quarterbacks by 13, and I took Cam Ward. Now, I could have taken, instead of Cam Ward, I could have taken like a Daniel Jones or someone even lower than that. But I decided to go a little bit further down the board and get Cam Ward instead of Daniel Jones because more backstack opportunities. But still, either way, definitely constricted here. It's like, gosh, I need to draft a third quarterback for that construction. And so I better grab one here in the ninth because I don't love my options. Let's get Kyler Murray and try to backstack him with, not much, but a little bit. And then let's get Cam Ward because now I really don't have any options and see if I can backstack that as well. In the end, I had to go and backstack Cam Ward with Gunnar Helm, and I had to go and backstack um, uh, Kyler Murray with Ty Felton. I think I'm the only person in this entire draft that has Ty Felton on a team. Probably not, but I don't think I've seen him drafted once by someone else. So I might be the only Ty Felton drafter. Let's cross our fingers, guys, there. So constricting as far as that goes. If you're drafting three quarterbacks through 13, you probably also don't want to draft three quarterbacks too early in general either. Let's take a look at this one here. In this one, I got Baker Mayfield in the 10th. I was able to stack that up with Godwin. He was actually falling a little bit, which was nice. So I got a falling Godwin or Baker Mayfield. Then I got here into the 11th round. I'm kind of praying with how I drafted this team actually at QB, right? Because Mayfield usually goes before pick 114. I don't see him fall that often, but he fell to 114. Thank you. I then, in the 11th round, because I know I still need two more quarterbacks and I only have 3 rounds to do it in, I can take a quarterback in the 11th round, but there's like no one there. So I take Higgins, hoping that's going to disincentivize anyone from taking Stroud. I get Stroud in the 12th round. And then when I get to the 13th round here, I'm like, I still need a quarterback. And the last quarterback, like of a tier, is Daniel Jones. So I take an unstacked Daniel Jones. So I get an ugly stack CJ Stroud. Not horrible. I mean, I've done this before, but it's not the most inspiring stack. And then I have an unstacked Daniel Jones, and that's why I have the sixth running back, by the way, in DJ Giddens, just to somehow get a Colt on the team. Not that I had to, but we'll see what happens with that. Maybe something, maybe not. Again, one of the only teams I've seen DJ Giddens drafted a little bit, but not many times. So maybe one of the only teams with DJ Giddens on it as well. So again, I felt constricted. I felt those 13 rounds coming in on me. When it comes to the other drafts where I didn't need to, in fact, the tough thing here is when I couldn't draft them in 13, so I had to make sure that I only had two. In this one here, I took Caleb Williams early, and because I didn't have to take quarterbacks, I was able to find the value later on in these drafts. I got Kyle Pitts at 103, past his ADP. You could argue that I should have taken someone like, I think, Goff on this one to pair with Amon-Ra. But I find it fun sometimes to put yourself in positions that are just super uncomfortable and maybe get some benefits out of it from like an ADP perspective. So try it, see what happens, right? So got Kyle Pitts right here, was able to get a falling Tony Pollard, a falling Jordan Mason. And then what did I end up doing? I put myself in a position where in the end, I did have to take a bunch of later round QBs. I did have to overdraft Brissett, but then I also then paired him with a Tua and a Michael Penix late as well. And paired with Kyle Pitts, the player that I took instead of a QB. Did it turn out the right way? Probably not the best, right? Most people wouldn't say this is a grade A type of team, probably because of that Kyle Pitts pick right there. I go and I take a Jared Goff there, and people probably like the team a little bit more in general. But I mean, maybe this can win. Try to dig yourself out of it as best you can when you get yourself into a big mistake. But what did I end up doing? By not following the rules, shame on me. I put myself in a place where I don't have the best, um, the most visually appealing team possible. Last but not least here, and our last team when it comes to the quarterbacks, and again, breaking the rules here. We got Caleb again. Did we stack Caleb in both of these? I think we did. Yeah. Yeah. We got Caleb again in this one to pair with Colston Loveland. And then we got Kyler Murray in the 10th round. And then we actually we got Tet in this one and a falling Coker in this one. And we passed on Bryce Young in round 13 for the bit because we couldn't have three QBs. And we took Keaton Mitchell. I think I tried to tell myself when I did this that it was okay, and I think overall it's okay, whatever. But man, having all these Carolina guys and not having Bryce Young on the team kind of hurts a little bit. So this was constricting in the other way. It's like, man, I had that QB right there, but I didn't take it, and now I have a slightly less correlated team than I could have had. Now, having the wide receivers and the running back, a lot of people say the QB is the least important one. I guess we'll find out if that's the case with this team or not. What did we do though? And then we did end up getting Michael Penix towards the end and then stacking with Jahan Dotson. So I don't know, whatever. We'll see if that works. So it kind of stinks that this was one of the teams we wanted to do that bit on because maybe just from a correlation standpoint, Bryce Young would have been a better pick. But again, just to find this was a fun exercise. Maybe you guys learned something from it too, or maybe entertained you for a minute or two to finalize things here. Pete, thanks for the rules. I like the rules. I think they're good rules. I'm not going to follow them every time. Hopefully that doesn't hurt your feelings. Our tight ends, we learned they don't matter. Draft them all wherever you can. Just be smart about it. Your running backs, if you want to feel comfy, get them early. But maybe you got some targets late if you like some of my targets. And last but not least, draft your QBs, but don't let them constrict you. Instead, you constrict the draft, whatever that means. That is the final episode of Following Peter Overzet's Rules. Hopefully you learned something from it. I know I did, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.